love you, do we hate you, why should you care? Cause we're the best and we do team out there. It's time to rate that album.
Hi, and welcome to Rate That Album, the back and forth podcast review with myself, Paul Muad'Dib, with my good, wonderful friend, Joe Fremming. Joe, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic after we nailed the third introduction on here, Paul.
You called me out, you bastard. Yeah, we did the third intro. We don't normally fuck it up that bad, but it is what it is. Joe, we are diving into a band, Cavetown, that you and I were not familiar with. I didn't know anything about Cavetown before I brought this to you. I'm assuming the same thing for you?
Yeah, no, I've never heard of Cavetown before you brought it up.
Okay. Well, this was a request, and lo and behold, I actually have the person that requested the album, and it is the one, the only Giffiny, who I did a podcast with. We did it shortly. We've eventually been talking about bringing it back, but Giffiny, can you hear us? I know you're satellite somewhere in deep space, but can you hear Joe and myself?
I can hear you guys.
Hi, Giffiny. Thank you. We don't normally bring on guests, but
yeah, I'm honored.
Well, yeah. So, and I want to bring it. This was Joe's idea to the podcast, and we figured this would be a good thing to go. Now, you and I, we're good friends, and we know each other very well through family and things like that. So, tell me and Joe why you wanted us to do Cavetown.
Well, I find it very calming for me. I also find it very relatable. I like the style. For me, it's like art. I don't really know what else to say.
How did you discover Cavetown?
I stumbled upon it online. The first song I listened to was This Is Home. And then I kept going on from there, and I found this playlist that had a bunch of Cavetown songs, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So that's kind of how I fell in love with it.
If I may ask, what video, was there a video? Was it on TikTok? Was it how did you discover your first Cavetown song?
I was just looking up some sleepy music, and I stumbled upon it, put it on, and that's kind of what I fell asleep to for the next few days. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Joe, do you have any other questions for Giffiny?
Yeah. Giffiny, since we're doing Lemon Boy, what is your favorite song on this album?
I really like Lemon Boy. I really do. That one's a really great song. Fool is another really great one as well. But definitely the original Lemon Boy. That one's really good.
Is there other artists in this vein that you're also a fan of? Is this is kind of the genre you're into, or is it?
Yeah, I haven't really found any other artists like Cavetown, because the way that he does it, it's just so it's so new to me. I've been trying to look for other artists like Cavetown, and I haven't been able to find any other that are able to do what Cavetown is able to do. If you were to listen to Devil Town, which is another one of his songs, it's the way that he's able to do it is just amazing to me, because it's sometimes it can be calming, it can be kind of upbeat, and then he does a mixture of them sometimes as well. He does electronic as well. He also redoes some of his songs that he did from years ago. He redid This Is Home, Devil Town, he redid, I think, Untitled. Yeah, that's the ones that I know that he redid. He does sometimes change the name, like he changed This Is Home to Home. But it's still amazing, and there's 3 versions of Devil-town. The first version is obviously being the original. The second version, he changed up the lyrics a little bit, and the third version, he kept the same lyrics from the first version, but kind of like redid the style or like the music or whatever. So he remasters some of his music from years and years and years ago. When I read, he started doing music when he was 14, and became extremely famous. He's doing touring, he's doing concerts. He even has his own merch as well. People absolutely fell in love with him, and he's really talented. He's highly talented. He's also pretty funny. He does his behind the scenes on some music videos as well. He has this behind the scene video on how he made Lemon Boy with his friends and camera crew, and it was very fun to watch and very funny. If you were to watch the music video, there was a scene that what was supposed to happen is that there's this lemon piñata. He was supposed to like take the piñata down and bite into a lemon. Well, the tree that they used, they were not expecting the tree to fall. So when the tree fell, and they weren't going to do any other reshots, they were doing this in one day, so they couldn't like redo the video or anything. So they had to improvise. What they did is when the tree fell, they just let the tree fall. He bit into a lemon and moved on. He was very scared when that happened. And he didn't see the tree. He didn't see the tree fall, even though that like people back there were saying, "Look out for the tree! The tree is gonna fall." He didn't notice this at all, and it like was like an inch away from him, and it was really funny to watch. He's definitely really funny, and yeah, he's good at what he does. He's good at what he does.
Awesome.
And he mostly records. He does almost all the instrumentals himself, right? I saw like
from what I know,
on
yes.
the Bandcamp, and like there's people who play some other instruments, but it's mostly just him.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because from what I've seen him play bass. I've seen him play a miniature keyboard, like ones with like very few keys. He's played ukulele, guitar. I think he can play violin as well. I think. He can play piano. I think he can play the drums. He can play a lot of instruments, I think.
Well, that's awesome. That's kind of all I had, Paul.
Yeah, that's about all I had as well. You keep that up and you keep doing our research, and we're gonna be out of a job, Giffiny. So, but no, I'm glad to hear that you knew all about that. I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully, you'll enjoy what you hear. I know you got to get going, but I appreciate you coming on and at least letting us ask you some questions about why you wanted us to do this. I really like this segment, Joe. This is actually a lot of fun. So we're going to let you go. Bye, Giffiny.
Bye, Giffiny.
Bye. Bye.
Well, Joe, so now we know a little bit more about Cavetown, and I'm going to jump because Giffiny really nailed on some things, right? And yeah, this kid, I had it actually written down even before I knew, before I did research when I was listening to it. I was like, this is a musical prodigy. Because you could tell this is all pretty much self-produced stuff, right?
Yeah, it's very much in the spirit of the early 2000s, when a lot of bands, like it or hate it due to like the Napsters of the world. And the ability with Pro Tools to be able to record at home and digitally, and the move from tape, people were able to put their music out in the world. And there was like this really cool explosion in the early 2000s of that. And a lot of the music on here reminded me of that time. And so this was just like, this scratched a lot of itches I had, Paul, because I'm such an indie dork with
Dude,
like
I'm
a
so
lot of
glad-
stuff. Like, I'm not like indie like whatever, but like this scratched scratched a lot of itches I had. It was right up my alley.
So I'm glad you said that, because when I first got this recommendation and we couldn't find, right? Like last week, we're like, oh my God, we can't find this. This is going to be something, right? This is funny. This is coming up because I was part of that. So around that time, I was starting my first bands around that really early 2000s. And when we very first started to record, we were using my buddy's 4-track Tascam, put in a cassette tape, and that's how you did it. And then I got a computer, a better computer, a more of a gaming rig, and I started looking for like, God, there's got to be other ways to do this. Like, I should be able to just plug it in. And sure enough, there was already programs out there. Cool Edit Pro was the one I ended up using, which is really funny because that's the one that Adobe ended up purchasing for their Adobe Premiere or for their Adobe Edition. So, but I was using that one. There was GarageBand was a big one at the time. Sonar. There was a couple others. Cakewalk. Oh God, Cakewalk was a big one. People were using too back in the day. I don't think that's even much around anymore.
Yeah, my buddy was using, was it Fruity Loops?
Fruity Loops is another one. Yep, I had my hands on Fruity Loops. Yep.
Yeah, because he was a percussionist, so he loved making beats and stuff with Fruity Loops.
Yep, and that was a fun little beats program. Absolutely. But yeah, no, it really did open things up for us to kind of self-record. And I remember going around, me and my buddy, we go around the place we worked at with our CDs and be like, hey, check out our music. And that's kind of how we promoted ourselves early on, was that way.
Old man with his compact discs.
Oh man, with his compact discs. And and then I started doing the pirate radio, and I would play our songs on there, and that's how I got some other attention. That's kind of how I got into the whole attention with the whole that whole story with the fucking record label and all that shit. But yeah, this is very, 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 very in that vein. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't want to give it too much away, but I ended up liking this way more than I ever thought I was gonna.
Yeah, same here. Because like I looked it up, and the video was like some soulless ginger, and I can say that because I'm a soulless.
You are a soulless ginger. I can attest to that. You are a soulless ginger, sir.
And I was like, oh no, and then I played it while I was working, and I messaged you right away, like after 3 songs, and I'm like, this is really good.
Yeah. So he's young. He was born in 1998. And I know, Joe. I know. You and I were like getting all fucked up in 1998 and going through
high school.
We were in high school. We were in high school. And his dad is a musicologist and a choir teacher. And by 8 years old, he was playing. His dad got him playing his own instrument. His mom is a flautist and a music teacher. I mean, this kid had it all from the start. And so he does vocals, ukulele, kazoo, guitar, melodica, and MIDI keyboard. That's what he determines himself for what he plays. And now again, this kid was born in, I want to point this out, 1998. And in 2012, Joe, he started his YouTube channel, was putting out his first fucking stuff. So, like, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, technology, and I hate to agree with this guy because he's problematic too, but I think Marr was kind of right when he talked about technology democratized music in a way.
Yeah.
It did.
Joe, it did.
Yeah, it democratized it. The gatekeepers were gone. People like me at the record stores, like our sage wisdom didn't mean anything anymore. And yeah,
Your high
we're still in
fidelity
the same
lifestyle.
spot as we were before. We're just creatures of habit as a society. But I think it's made being able to make albums a lot easier, and I love that because again, you don't see it, paraded around a lot. But like you go under the surface just a bit, you're gonna find it. But
yeah, I mean, Joe, I dabble still to this day in making my own stuff. I actually just wrote a couple pieces for another project I was working on, and I get a wild hair up my ass, and I fucking plug in and I record every once in a while, and that's just something I've been doing for years, and I love being able to do that and have a means of being able to put things out again. We've talked about the different subscriber levels. Once we get to a certain point, I'm going to do more stuff in that realm. And it's nice,
like doing the entire Pink Floyd The Wall as R. Kelly's trapped in the closet.
We haven't talked about that publicly, but yeah, we get to 1,000 subscribers, guys. I will do that. I will completely redo the entire The Wall, Pink Floyd's The Wall, from front to back lyrically over the music of R. Kelly's Trapped in a Closet. And I will do it in the style of R. Kelly's Trapped in the Closet. I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to go all out if we get there.
Hell yeah, you are.
Hell yeah, I am. Fuck, for 1,000 subscribers. Fuck yeah, I am. So in 2016, he released Lemon Boy. He put out a bunch of singles between then and now. Really, he's only put out 5 albums. He put out his self-titled in 2015. He put out his the 160416, which came out, album. And then the very next year, and then he put out Lemon Boy. All 3 of those albums are self-released. And then it was Lemon Boy that got him attention. He signed with Sire Records. And he put out Sleepyhead. And then most recently was Worm Food that came out in November of 2022. So, yeah. Well, should we dive into it, Joe?
Yes. Let's dive right into it, Paul.
Let's dive right into it, sir. I think we'll stay on the rails on this one, too, which would be kind of nice because...
yeah, well, there's next week, so...
There is next week. So we got the title track, Lemon Boy. Go ahead, Joe.
So I kicked this off, and I love it. And it reminds me a lot of Elliott Smith. I wrote in my notes. It's like a cross between the artist Y and Elliott Smith, and yep, I'm all in. I am all in on this.
I have written in my notes, actually, I was getting Modest Mouse vibes and Connor Oberst vibes and Elliott Smith vibes on this album. Yep.
Like serious Elliott Smith vibes.
there's a lot. I think there's a lot of influence. If not, that's crazy to me. But I have to assume that he found Elliott Smith, or I should say,
Elliott Smith was just kind of doing his version of Beatles, so it could be. I don't know.
But I have my notes for this song is I have good homegrown production. You can tell this is home indie, and from the way it's produced, but it's done right. The song's got a great hook and it's got some great progressions in it. Like it's a really good song.
Yeah, you don't need a professional studio to get a good sound like we discussed with Funhouse,
Right. They're destroying the studio to get a good
destroy
sound.
The studio just because, so it works. It works for this album, absolutely.
The next one is Green, and I have another I stopped making this note because I'm like, okay, this is all gonna have that indie vibe sound, but I was kind of expecting when we got the second track, I was bracing myself. I'm like, this is going to be a lot of the same. And well, it is. It isn't. There's some great instrumentation on here that I was pleasantly surprised with Green.
Yeah, it did. The more of the same stuff, it wears on me toward the end of the album.
You and I both, Joe, 100%.
But here, like Green, this is it's a breakup song. Someone's sad of seeing that person with someone else. It's also flipped. Like they're kind of like the ones who took it for granted. So yeah, I like the lyrics too. It's very visual and creates a picture.
Yeah.
Unlike our favorite punching bag. Porridge radio.
Poor Porridge Radio. I feel so bad for them. I do.
Oh, write better fucking lyrics than we want.
But you get lyrics like "This is erosion, grinding up rocks with your molars. A big fish swims past your rod. You can't catch it. It's far too fast. Deep hooks marks in rubber lips. I see your eyes in the flowers. I pick a bunch for your room. Green and blue to match your pictures." I mean, the imagery is just dripping in this song.
Yeah, this is somebody who's very good at showing and not telling. Even when it gets a little surreal, I wrote later on that I still get what they're saying. You know what I mean? Yes. Unlike Amused to Death from last week, where I lost the plot halfway through the song.
It got, like I said, once it got to that certain point, you're just like, okay, so we're on our 4th album now. All right, perfect, thanks, Roger. Then we get "It's You." Oh my God,
this is my favorite song on the album.
Joe, I wrote down this has no business being this good.
It's the minor chords, and it's minor chords and the Elliott Smithish vibes.
Yes.
Fuck, I'm just like, yep, I'm in. I'm all in on this, and like. If you fall down too far and I can't see through these marks and your eyes are covered with scars and my head's filling with tar, don't worry, we'll find another way out. Like, yeah,
it's so good. It's so good.
It's and the instrumentation, like, I looked at the Bandcamp, so there's people who are like helping out, but it's mostly just this guy. And fuck, I wish I had the talent to do that on my own. Like, I can putz around, but like to come out with full-fledged songs, just
I really like legitimate. I was like, oh fuck, did we find another super album? Like, is this gonna be another?
Well, I get nervous when you pick these requests, Paul, because they've been mostly misses.
Well, that's part of the request business, man. Some are good, some are bad. It is what it is.
Every time you say, like, we got another request, like, my bowels are like, you got to take a shit right now, Joe.
Meanwhile, next week's happening. And you say, next one is Fool.
Now, this reminded me, like, this got a little too sugary sweet for me a bit. And it sounds to me, because it sounds like it's on the radio, so it reminded me very much of Martha, My Dear from the White Album.
Maybe that's it. Joe.
Kind of vaudeville-y,
Yeah. I have my note. I said I should be getting tired of this, but I'm not. But I said, I know this song, or I've heard it somewhere. It's very familiar to me. And it's upsetting me. And like, I'm like, I don't know if I've heard this on the radio. I don't know if they stole it. I don't like, there was something about this song that I definitely was like, I've heard this before somewhere.
It was very McCartney-ish to me.
And it was driving me nuts. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it is McCartney-ish, because there was times I'm like, God, I've heard this melody. I've heard these chords. I've heard this progression. It was just gnawing at me, and it was driving me nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also noticing that this person is kind of obsessed with people's mouths.
Yeah. We can get into that.
Brought up teeth earlier, now it's like, I like your mouth. I'm like, okay. Like, this is like the Tarantino.
The Tarantino. Mouths are their feet. Yeah, maybe. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't find that on the wiki, but let's just run with it.
Oh, let's just add it. We can. According to a review, rate that album.
Rate that album. Cavetown is obsessed with mouths, like Quentin Tarantino is obsessed with feet. Those guys know everything. The next one was Another One of Those Days. This is where I started putting in the notes. Now I'm starting to feel a little bit of the sameness.
Yeah, it's a jaunty tune.
Mm-hmm.
I like the lyrics. Again, the lyrics are great. It's just I wish the music was kind of changing it up a bit.
Yep. I'm with
maybe
you.
Maybe do darker tones, maybe with it. Like I get it, but it's their album, I guess. But
it's their album, and it's an early album.
It doesn't mean I have to like everything on it. But.
No, and it's a Genesis album too, right? Like it's still early in their. I mean, all their stuff.
Oh, Gabriel's not on this album.
Very true. Very true. But I was really hoping for a Red Rain cover. Now
it was a Genesis album, Paul.
Oh, fine. Then let's just give me some counting out time. All right. Can you imagine him covering that? Next is Taking Care of Things. And this is what I wrote down. I feel like we have a musical prodigy on our hands.
Mm-hmm.
This is way, way, way good. I really like this song. It started changing up again. I'm like, this should be in a movie.
Yeah.
This is a soundtrack song.
These lyrics are all pretty depressing and dealing with anxieties. And, where does my mind go when it gets stupid? Is there anyone in there? Where do my friends go? Do they get taken? Or have they had enough of going to therapy, sat in a cold room? Corners feel friendly. I think they'll take care of me. It's just, they're also going through some shit, Paul.
Yeah, and I can see where, again, Joe, you and I putting ourselves at Giffany's age, in high school again, and you hear this album. You and I would gravitate towards this immediately. I mean, we're gravitating it now in our old age. This would definitely be something where you'd be like, yeah, this guy understands.
Yep. You always it's like with me when I was in high school, I would like Nine Inch Nails. Like I was angry and depressed. And that, that was the target audience for that, So,
absolutely. No, 100.
You went to Lindsey Buckingham because you're a boring white guy.
True.
And that's where your genesis of your obsession with boring white guy music. It all started with rumors.
Tusk wasn't boring white.
Crippling addiction.
They had a marching band. That's not white. So next is
Big Bowl in the Sky, this was like, okay, this is getting a bit much, but it's probably the most beautiful song about someone's pet fish dying.
Yeah. So I said normally I'd say blah, and while this won't go on a playlist, I like it as an interlude piece, as a weird goldfish dying song, and then I changed my notes a bit and go, it flows really nicely to the next song.
Yeah, which is 888.
This
I feel like there's explicit references to Elliott Smith here, because Smith had Figure 8 album.
And I feel like there's explicit Modest Mouse, because Modest Mouse had in one of their songs, Never Ending Math Equation, where they talk about 8, and there is sleepwalking. Their song Sleepwalking stank all over the beginning, like first minute of the song.
And the chord progression in the music, though, Paul, it reminded me of our favorite song from Twin Peaks from Old James.
Yeah.
It's very much the you and I kind of chord progression. And
that is the sleepwalking. So a mutual friend of ours, I was in a band with, and they were obsessed, and you'll know who it is when I say this. They were obsessed with Built to Spill. They were obsessed with Modest Mouse.
Let's not forget Sonic Youth.
And Sonic Youth. Yes.
This person made me hate Sonic Youth, Paul.
I love this person to death, though. They're a wonderful.
I love him too, but he made me hate Sonic Youth.
Yep. Nope. I get it. And one of the first songs that we covered together was Sleep Rockin'. And that, because it's that easy, 50s chord progression. I mean, it literally is you and I. And the way that the vocals is doing it and things like that, I'm telling you, this is Sleepwalking Modest Mouse with, and then it changes, and that's where I got the Elliott Smith vibes. And I was like, okay, after like that first minute, I'm like, yep, I hear that as well. I am calling shenanigans on this one because there is no way they wrote this song and didn't hear Modest Mouse Sleepwalking. It is, I feel, too much stepping on that song to be a coincidence.
Look at Paul here with his 30-year-old band. Like, yeah, they had heard the Guess Who to hear to understand, write this song. This is not a song would exist if it wasn't for the Guess Who.
Talking about my generation.
Wrong Who band, Paul.
Oh, right. Which Who band? There's a whole bunch of Who bands, Joe. There are so many of them back in the war. American Woman. There we go.
These eyes.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was another great breakup song. I think I actually have somewhere in, God damn it, I'm old. I have somewhere in here like the best of the Guess Who. Fucking A.
They're good songs, Paul.
They do have good songs.
Like these eyes, like that scene in Superbad.
Oh,
they make Michael Cera sing it.
God, yeah. No, I remember I was going through a breakup, and my brother-in-law was like, "You need to listen to this," and he handed me this. It was the No Sugar Tonight. Yeah, it was No Sugar Tonight. My God.
Well, when you're going through a breakup, you ain't getting sugar that day.
Yep, and No Time. Those, like, listen to these two songs and you'll feel a lot better about yourself with these breakups. And I'm like, I don't feel better.
This made me feel worse.
This makes me feel things I don't want to feel.
I don't want to feel.
Speaking of not wanting to feel, we got Poison.
Yeah, I like this because it's pretty fucked up.
I said I created a genre with this. I said this is a neo folk take on a Pixies song. This reminds me of a Frank Black Pixie song, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially with the lyrics too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like Bone Machine and shit like that. Wave of Mutilation and
it. Yeah, there's cars coming closer. I think they're trying to run me over, poisoning my food and putting drugs inside my water. There's ghosts in my house. I can taste blood in my mouth. Don't be afraid. I'm not insane, just irrational. Isn't that the same? That's fucking Frank. I'm sorry. I mean, I get you're going through some shit, but that is also like Frank Black's level of lyric writing. And that I mean that as a
compliment. Yeah.
That's a compliment. Yeah.
And Slow Paul begins my gripes.
Okay,
last three songs where I'm just like, let's wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
10 Feet Tall, I'm just like, this is getting to be way more of the same at this point for me.
Yeah, my notes were it's good. It's a step above filler.
Yeah, like I wouldn't, I have problems with like pop like this. It's like, Elliott Smith and like Apples in Stereo and stuff like that where I can listen to it to a point.
Yep.
And then I got to turn it off because I can't sit through music like that for an extended period of time. I could take all these songs individually and put them on playlists and enjoy them. But when I'm sitting down and listening all the way through, I just struggle then. I just hit a wall.
Joe, I've noticed this in I think the last several albums that we've done, at least as a kind of a thing, is that a lot of times with albums, by the end of it, like I mean I know it's a sequencing thing, but you're kind of like I don't care. They're front loading the albums with the good stuff, and they're kind of just putting all the middling stuff towards the end, and that just seems to be what they do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not harping on him for doing anything different. It's Kate Bush. We both love Kate Bush.
Yeah, but
But-
but sometimes it's just enough already.
Yeah, I mean, when we were trying to get through that album, both there was times where I was like, I love Kate Bush, but I don't want to listen to 13 Kate Bush songs in a row.
Yeah, and that's,
I w-
and when it comes to me, it was like a lot like the bands that I gravitated to a lot were like
Mhm.
bands with more than one singer.
Yeah,
Because it changes it up a bit. You know, that's, you know, like I love Floyd and I love the Beatles and shit like that just because it's more than one voice.
and honestly, I know we struggled with had differing opinions on the vocals for the Bangles, but I still think it helped
Mhm.
that album.
I do
s-
too.
I still think it
Bell
helped.
Jar made it onto a playlist right
Oh,
away.
that's such a good song.
Yeah.
That is such a good fucking song. Yeah,
But yeah,
Bell-
so, you know, maybe it's just my ADD or whatever.
it could
But
be.
it's tough. It's just tough for me to sit through the same person singing unless I'm really into that person's music. And then again, it's the style where it's really sugary, sweet, poppy
Mhm.
vocals, and like that kind of
I will
I
say,
get to feel like that's enough already.
off the top of my head, I can think of two more modern level bands. I mean, I can't even say they're modern anymore. Fuck, Joe, I'm so old.
Yeah, you're old, Paul.
I'm old, but I was gonna say Daft Punk is one of those bands that I can listen to an album and not get bored because they're going so many different places. They're just that musically talented, and they got different. A lot of times they have different people singing and doing different vocal things with that. And then the other one, I can say, they still are putting out music, is the Strokes. I don't know what it is about the Strokes, but outside of one of their albums, I can just put that on and be content. Because I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, I think it's just the poppy element for me. Like, I just kind of struggle with that. So when it gets to these last three, and it's kind of like, sonically, it's not really doing anything that different that what came before. I'm kind of clocking out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
it's just how I am.
it is. I'm doing the same thing.
It's just how I am with a lot of these kind of vocals. I love it, but there's only so much I can sit through.
Yeah, dude.
Like, again, I'll take all these songs, throw them on each one on a different playlist, and I'll be fine with it. But if I have to hear them in order, sit down, I'm going to struggle.
Yep. I'm Joe. For the most part, I'm going to do the same thing with you. So, I'll make cereal. I said I expected to be. I mean, I'm getting burnt out, but I expected to be more burnt out by now.
Yeah.
So I don't think my burnout's as bad as it would be because I was expecting to be burnt out song 3, and I've been really enjoying this so far.
Yeah, the guitar here reminded me of Yellow Ledbetter.
Yeah.
Pearl Jam.
Yep.
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam. I do that for karaoke. Yeah, I mean, the world's coming to an end. What is the point of a campy friend? Pick me up from dungeons, Ferris wheel, get lost inside my head, not too long till we're dead, and in the morning I'll make cereal. Wow. Like, what will be? Cornflakes or toast? Pills or a dose of radiation? Armageddon is far too close. She visits me every night. At least we'll make good conversation. Fuck, Joe. Kids are nihilists these days, man. Like, we had bands that were coming out and dancing around it. They're just coming out and saying fuck it, we're gonna die.
I don't know. I was listening to Industrial, Paul. They're pretty much all Nine Inch Nails. I want to burn this whole world down. That's right up my alley, Paul. I don't know what you're listening to.
And I was listening to punk, and punk was just straight out there. Fuck it all. Yeah. I want to drink and die. Yeah, no, get it. Yeah, no, yeah.
Things were different, man.
Things maybe weren't as different as we think they were.
Yeah, I don't think they're listening to this and reading up on the person here. It's this is what a lot of I think everybody's kind of going through at that age. It's just lots of anxieties, a lot of worries, and
it's very relatable.
Cavetown put it together and into a beautiful album here. So
yeah, very, very much so.
People relate to it, and that makes me happy.
And then I agree. I'm loving that there's still music. I mean, it's depressing, but there's still music like this connecting and being made and by new people, and it just makes me really, really happy that I can go back and be
Well,
like, oh
depression's a $1 billion industry.
it sure is, Joe. It sure
it's not
is.
the music, it's the pills and therapy. Yeah. So it's not going
They
away.
got my money. They got my money. So next we get Pigeon, and I said, okay, I concede. This feels like filler, but it's a fitting end to an album. Because I consider Lemon Boy a cappella, which I have my problems with.
That's just
a bonus track.
Bonus track.
Yeah. And I said, okay, Pigeon's a good. It's no Right Ring Pigeons from Outer Space by the Dead Milkmen, but it's still there.
I kind of hoped it was going to go on a more musically kind of sparse,
I thought so
minor chord type thing, which would kind of like, I don't know.
Cap the ending?
Yeah. Very kind of like a fitting ending, but
it's at
least
I didn't hate it.
This wasn't my favorite track on the album either, so that didn't help.
No, and I didn't hate it as much as some ending songs on albums I've hated in the past, but it still was like, okay. I mean, but again, the song, I was like, okay. Now, Lemon Boy acapella. I'm gonna date myself here, Joe.
Here we go.
Yep, I'm gonna go.
We got another Paul Muad'Dib hot take.
We do got another Paul Muad'Dib. Let me grab my soapbox. All right. This is not a cappella.
Well, yeah, there's music in it.
Well, I there's things where I could concede that maybe he did that, some of those things with their voice. And I will concede that maybe you did all of those things with your voice, but you didn't do it. Like when I think of a cappella, my mind goes to you're standing on a stage with like 4 people, 6 people, 8 people, and you are doing the song where everyone's making different sounds for the effects, and you have like boom, 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 boom. You know, it's the precursors of essentially beatboxing is what it is. Or acapella is you're by your, like I've done karaoke acapella before. There's nothing there, and it's just your voice in the fucking microphone. When I heard that, I was like, okay, acapella, that's kind of cool. I like to hear him just singing. Like I thought it was gonna be like a demo track, and then it's like way overproduced, and there's fucking auto tune all over it, and you can tell that there's been quantizing of and I'm going, you can't say don't just stop at this whole idea. I see these on YouTube all the time and on TikToks where it's like acapella, and then immediately I hear the auto tune and I go, that's not fucking acapella.
Yeah, well, acapella is, it's performance according to Wikipedia, Paul.
Yeah,
a singer or singing group without instrumental accompaniment.
Yeah.
So like this is instrumental, even if it's your voice, it's
I mean
it's accompanying the vocals, so
it's no longer a cappella.
I would have just called it a remix, honestly.
Right. Yeah, or version 2 or version 7. Bob Dylan was known for doing tons of those, right? Was it fucking Tears for Fears had different, even on their first album, had different versions of the song. Take 2, Take 7. But I think I get really pissed off when like I hear people, oh my God, that's so good. And I go, oh my God, that's so auto-tuned. That's not a cappella. And this whole idea that just because you're singing, but then if you're putting any effects on it, sorry, that you lost that term a cappella. We need that is a dying thing, and I'm seeing it happen, and I'm seeing people kind of cheating online with it. Like, listen to me do it a cappella, and I'm like, can you guys not hear the auto tune? That's being correct. Like, that's fucking a lie. So that's my soapbox. I'm getting off it now.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I have no horse in this race, so I guess I don't care.
I think
whatever, Paul.
As a vocalist, right? I use things on my voice. Okay, so from time to time, I have different voice mods, things like that. I will denote when I do something like that. Like, there is vocal effects on here because I feel like that's an honest way of doing it. But when I see someone say, I'm doing it a cappella, or I'm doing it no instrumentation, no help, and then I hear that auto-tune go into place, I kind of go, you lying. Like, I do lose some respect for the artist. Because I feel like you're lying to your audience. And when you lie to me, you call me stupid. So the fact that there was all this auto-tune and production and music on it, it's not as egregious here because but I think that term a cappella needs to be kind of, we need to not keep it sanctosanct per se,
Yeah,
but
'cause I think of acapella, I just think of just vocals.
Yep. Yeah. And that's what that's what it is and what it should be, right? Like, when you hear a cappella groups, I think it's a little, like, again, there's a lot of talent in a cappella groups. I have a lot of respect. Remember Scrubs? And they had that fucking weird doctor that would do, he was a real life a cappellist, and his band would come on and do things. And there's a real talent of a cappella. But when I see people on like TikTok or like with these a cappella groups, these quote a cappella groups that go on, say, like these talent shows, and you can tell that there's vocal effects being done, through it, and it's adjusting their tone and things like that. I feel like it's really hurting people like real a cappella groups, because when you go and see real a cappella, now you've had this disingenuine idea of what it is. So you're going to hear some asshat that fucking lied about what a cappella is, and then you go see a real a cappella group and you're like, they're not as good as that guy I saw on America's Got Talent, because that guy on America's Got Talent wasn't doing it fucking a cappella, but they were selling you a fucking bridge. They were lying to you about what they were doing. And I struggle with that a lot musically, where the point now is, I come from the age of, you were in a rock band, you did not do fucking auto-tune. You did not fucking, that was what you did. And now it's to the point where everyone's doing it, and I'm so burnt out from it. So I think maybe I was excited to kind of hear an old school a cappella song, like just nothing. And again, I really thought the vibe of this album, that's what we were going to get. And then they get this, I guess I was kind of like, God damn it, another one. Fuck me. So, all right. Now I'm off my soapbox.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Paul sizzle reel for replacing Tucker Carlson on Fox News. He's just asking questions. Why can't I ask questions? Why can't I say acapella can only be vocals? Why is the liberal mob against me when I say acapella cannot have music with it? I'm just asking questions.
I'm just asking questions. Look, I'm just asking questions. Why is it that every time I pick my nose, it's full again in a few minutes? I'm just asking questions, people. Why is it ever since Cher put out Do You Believe in Life After Love, everyone thinks that putting auto-tune on everything is a good fucking idea? I'm just asking questions.
It was Madonna with Ray of Light, too.
It was Madonna with Ray of Light. Yeah, I think that was about the same year. So, yeah, I don't know. Fuck them. But all that being said, even that bothering me, Joe, let's talk a little bit about kind of some of the after stuff here. So you talked about the mouth things, right? So I think this.
Did you get that on the wiki?
I did get it on the wiki. Actually, Skinner has.
Just remember the citation needed, and we can link this episode up.
Yeah. There is, I think there is. I mean, I hate. Whenever you got a prodigy, you usually have something that accompanies it, right? And luckily in this one, Cavetown Skinner has come out and basically said, look, I'm ADHD. So you know what? It could just be a hyperfixation. I have ADHD. There are times where I hyperfixate on things, and if they're working on an album at the same time and they're already looking at things, it could be that. I don't know.
I know about your hyperfixation because I sat through like an hour-long rant about the Misfits being on WCW. And I just sat through like a 5-minute spiel on acapella.
Joe, look, I think it's highly, highly important that we were never going to touch a Misfits album again. And that is such a weird thing that we live in a timeline where the Misfits of all fucking bands were on WCW. Do you think I wasn't going to fucking hammer that home?
Well, not for that long, Paul.
Well, you know what, Joe?
It would have just been its own episode.
Maybe I'll make my own episode about it. Then I'll make it 2 hours long because I could have gone longer. Yeah, there's just obviously their first 3 albums didn't chart or didn't have anything to go off of because it was self-produced. It was digital download. Sleepyhead, their latest one, or the one before the latest one, excuse me, in 2020 that they released right at the pandemic, hit 52 in the UK, 12 in the US, and Heat, and 16 on the US folk albums. And then Worm Food, which just released about 6 months ago, only hit 39 in the UK, did not break anything in the US. So I'll be interested to see what that is.
Lemon bands to do that anyway, Paul.
It really it is.
It's just Cavetown looks to have like a pretty good online digital presence through YouTube and Spotify, from what I saw. Who knows what the charts even mean at this point when it comes to music?
And that's a valid point, Joe. That's a very valid point. I've looked for like other people reviewing Cavetown. They're really off the radar. So there's not a lot of people out there reviewing them. So we can consider ourselves fucking awesome that we actually got this recommendation and are reviewing this band. As one of the very few that I think have kind of gone out there and properly reviewed a Cavetown album. Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. There we go. I lost you for a second. No,
I was allowing you to speak, Paul. It's called me being silent.
Oh, well, I don't do that shit. So Joe,
I'm painfully aware, Paul.
Joe, would you recommend Lemon Boy by Cavetown?
Absolutely. It's a really good album. Yeah, I would absolutely recommend it. I'm interested to hear more of what Cavetown has to do.
I agree. This is an artist I'm going to dig into more. And I am definitely going to be looking at more. I didn't want to listen to anything else prior to doing this podcast because I didn't want to contaminate or have any other ideas, right? I'm going into it as I know. And because I liked it. Like when we listened to our favorite punching bag for radio, I did jump around to be like, is there something else that I like? Like, is there other things? Is there a thing here that I'm missing on this album? And I do try to give some artists that I'm unfamiliar with the benefit of the doubt in that regard. So if it's something I'm hating, I will try to find something I like. So I have a comparison to it. But with this one, I actually am looking forward to being pleasantly surprised on what else they've done. Because I think that it theoretically speaking should only gotten better. So Joe.
Yes, Paul.
Do you have any plugs, sir?
I do not.
Okay. I do. I do have.
You have a plug, Paul?
I have a plug. Let me pull it up here. I absolutely.
Oh, by the way, I also want to thank Giffiny for the recommendation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Giffiny, for the recommendation. God, if I was a better host and friend,
He could have made me ask all the questions. You son of a bitch.
Well, I thought it was more fitting because I've worked with Giffiny before and you haven't. So, I will be posting in the link. But a friend of mine by the name of Ren Summers created a gratitude journal. And you can get it in both hardcover and paperback off of Amazon. And it's a 153-page daily journaling for therapy. So that is something that, you know, if you're out there and this is something that could help you, I will post a link down below where you can order it. But that is, I'm actually plugging a legitimate advertisement today, Joe. So we have our first advertisement going on. So that's the plug I have, sir.
Man, you made us sell out.
I sure did. Next, I'm going to have it as Giffiny calls it. We're going to have to start getting the merch out.
Nobody's getting those shirts. Only you and I have the shirts.
Only you and I have the shirts, buddy. No one else is getting our shirts.
That's right.
Joe.
Oh.
Joe.
Oh, you gonna ask me what we're gonna do next week?
Hey, Joe. Where are you going with that gun in your hand? No, what are we doing next week?
Oh, Paul, remember a few weeks ago you kind of opened this Pandora's box of problematic performers with R. Kelly.
I remember quite. And to be fair, that was a listener request.
It doesn't matter. You put your name behind it, Paul. You open the box for a problematic artist.
I sure did.
I decided to go with probably what's going to be, for our podcast, the most problematic artist we will ever discuss, and their album.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we discussed this before? I floated it by you before I decided to spring this.
You did.
Do you think there's going to be a performer we can top?
I think. Oh God, Joe.
Because
okay.
like in Natural Born Killers, Mickey Knox said this person, it's hard to beat the king.
Yeah, I would say this is like SSS tier. This is like super special tier. I think there's one or two right below them.
This one's.
This one though stands on a mountain by themselves, Joe. Yeah.
Yes. So everybody, we are going to do an album by an artist who's been covered by the Beach Boys, Guns N' Roses. Oh, let's see. Referenced by the Pixies. Referenced by Marilyn Manson. Brian Jonestown Massacre's covered this artist. Who else? A lot of bands. Red Cross, the Lemonheads have covered this artist. A little known fella who tried to break it into the music business in the late 1960s. Held around with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. Got into a little legal trouble after the summer of 1969.
Son of a bitch.
We're doing the album Lie, the Love and Terror Cult by none other than Charles Manson.
Jesus Christ, we're doing this.
Now, for one, I'm fascinated by Charles Manson. I've read books about him. His story in the music industry is wild, terrifying, and fascinating all at once.
Yeah. He
had tracks that were co-produced by Dennis Wilson, Carl Wilson, and Brian Wilson.
I was going to say Brian Wilson. I think Brian Wilson.
At Brian Wilson's studio.
Yep.
His studio. Dennis found they'll never be released. Rumor has it Dennis Wilson thought they were so evil that he burned them. The recordings.
Yeah.
But this album was recorded in 1967, 3 years before the Summer of Love became the Summer of Murder. And everybody in Los Angeles was on their toes.
Yeah. No, this is a thing. This is a thing we're doing. This is so, Joe, I think I think this is a fair. We got a little bit of time, considering how over we've gone with all of our other podcasts. I think the Charles Manson, and I'll leave it up to you how you want to handle that. I think a lot of people know the story of Charles Manson, but if we
I'm not going to get into that.
Okay. So I was going
The
to say...
trial is documented in Helter Skelter by Vincent Balagosi. There's numerous documentaries. His story has been covered ad nauseum.
And I think there's been docu-series and
yes, I'll pepper in facts throughout the review, but everybody knows.
I was going to say
what he did.
Yeah.
He masterminded 2 nights of murder, 3 if you care, include Gary Hinman, who he chopped the ear off of, and I believe maybe stabbed with a sword.
Yeah.
From my memory, he wasn't around on the Tate murders, but he did tie up the La Bianca. So when people say he didn't actually kill people, he didn't really give those people a chance to live. So.
No, he didn't. I mean, he was an accessory. He was absolutely
an accessory,
absolutely and masterminded it. Yeah. Those people would not be dead if it wasn't for Charles Manson. So
yes, exactly.
It's like, well, now we're getting into some really crazy semantics, because you could sit there and say, well, Hitler never really killed anyone. And I'd go, you're a terrible human being.
You're involved in the conspiracy of murder. That's just the law.
That's just the law, and it's for right reasons. So yeah, no, Joe, I think this is a thing we're doing.
Yeah. We're going, you opened it up, Paul. You opened up the problematic artists.
I mean, I have another one.
I just say go right to the mountaintop with that one.
Well, I think if the fan reviews on my end start coming down, we're gonna dig into another problematic artist that we'll get to. So it's all fair. We're just this is what this season's turning into, is the problematic season, which I'm down for. Yeah. So okay. So next week, Charles Manson. Jesus Christ! I never thought I'd say that on this fucking show. I never thought that'd come out of my mouth ever. Like, on the next episode, we're going to be diving into Charles Manson.
Yeah. Fuck. Cavetown followed up by Charles Manson.
That's well, no one could say we're not diverse as a fucking podcast. Happy folk music to Murder Town. All right. Well, Joe, anything else you'd like to add before we go?
Not really, Paul.
Would you like to take us out?
No.
Did we love you? Did we hate you? Do you even care? Yes, you did. We're the best damn review team out there. How did we rate your album?